Rosanna Miller is creating a big shock for fans when a series of her truths are revealed. It turns out that behind the carefully crafted narrative are inconsistencies in her timeline, rumors of scripted moments, and details about her personal life that have sparked curiosity and controversy. Obviously, there's more to Rosanna's story than what was shown on screen. Now take a deep breath to listen to Rosanna Miller's truths. This first truth shocked many people because Rosanna Miller herself did not want to say it. Unlike some of the more rebellious cast members who had previously left the Amish way behind, Rosanna approached the experience with a mix of apprehension and excitement. She had spent her entire life adhering to the strict rules and expectations of Amish culture: modest clothing, no access to modern technology, and a deeply ingrained respect for community values. The outside world was a mystery to her, filled with unknown possibilities, but also overwhelming challenges. Her upbringing had not prepared her for the fast-paced nature of English life, where people relied on technology, social media, and personal ambition to navigate the complexities of everyday living. Despite her initial struggles, Rosanna's determination to embrace new experiences resonated with viewers. She wasn't just testing the waters of English life. She was genuinely trying to find where she belonged. This journey wasn't without its hardships. Simple tasks that most outsiders took for granted, such as using a smartphone, ordering food at a restaurant, or even dressing in contemporary clothing, were all new and sometimes intimidating experiences for her. Yet, instead of shying away, Rosanna showed a willingness to learn and adapt, proving that her curiosity and desire for independence outweighed her fears. A key aspect of Rosanna's story was her friendship with Maureen. The two shared a deep bond, supporting each other as they navigated their unfamiliar surroundings. While Maureen was also new to the English lifestyle, she seemed slightly more confident in her approach. Her outgoing personality and excitement about the outside world sometimes clashed with Rosanna's more reserved and cautious nature. However, their friendship provided a safety net, ensuring that neither felt entirely alone in their new environment. They explored new social settings, experimented with fashion and makeup, and even began to form connections with people outside of the Amish community. One of the most defining moments of Rosanna's journey was her decision to date outside the Amish faith. Romantic relationships in Amish culture are often based on strict guidelines, with the expectation of marriage and a life dedicated to faith and family. In contrast, English relationships involve personal choice, dating for fun, and the possibility of heartbreak. Rosanna's exploration of romance in the modern world was both thrilling and nerve-wracking for her, as she had to navigate emotions and dynamics she had never experienced before. Despite the excitement of English life, Rosanna also faced emotional turmoil. Leaving the Amish world wasn't just about adopting a new lifestyle. It meant potentially severing ties with family members who remained in the community. The fear of losing the support and love of her Amish relatives was a constant source of anxiety for her. Many former Amish individuals struggle with feelings of guilt and isolation after leaving, as they are often shunned by their families. Rosanna was no exception. She wrestled with the emotional weight of her choices, wondering if the freedom of the English world was worth the cost of losing her family. The second shocking truth is the real reason why Rosanna Miller left Amish. Her statement, "I want to leave the Amish because really all we do is work and sleep, and we're not allowed to really go out and have fun," provided a glimpse into the restrictive nature of her upbringing. While the Amish lifestyle is deeply rooted in faith, tradition, and community, it also demands strict adherence to a simple way of life that often leaves little room for personal freedom or self-expression. For Rosanna, growing up Amish meant her days were consumed by hard labor, cooking, cleaning, farming, and other responsibilities that left little time for leisure or self-discovery. Unlike the English world, where young people have access to entertainment, education, and technology, Rosanna's world revolves around duty and obedience. Even the smallest joys, like going to the movies, wearing modern clothing, or spending time with friends outside the community, were considered forbidden. Over time, the lack of personal freedom became suffocating, making her question whether this was truly the life she wanted. However, as much as she longed to experience the outside world, Rosanna was not without fear. The Amish community does not take departures lightly. Those who leave often face severe consequences, the most devastating of which is shunning. When a person is shunned, they are cut off from their family and community and treated as if they no longer exist. This meant that Rosanna risked losing the people she loved most, her parents, siblings, and lifelong friends. She admitted on the show, "My biggest fear is I'll get shunned, or my parents won't talk to me anymore. They'll just consider me not their child. That's the biggest part that I'm afraid of." Her words revealed the heartbreaking reality that many former Amish faces, the choice between freedom and family. While some Amish parents continue to maintain secret relationships with their children after they leave, others strictly enforce shunning, refusing all contact. The thought of being disowned and completely erased from her family's lives weighed heavily on Rosanna, making her journey all the more emotionally complex. In the Amish community, family is everything. Parents raise their children with the expectation that they will remain within the faith, marry within the community, and raise their own children under the same beliefs. To break away is to betray not just the Amish way of life, but also the expectations of generations before. For Rosanna, the idea that her parents could one day see her as a stranger was an unbearable thought. The third fact that few people know about Rosanna Miller concerns her special hobbies. A self-described tomboy, Rosanna had always felt somewhat different from the traditional expectations placed on Amish women. She was comfortable working with horses, an activity that allowed her to feel a sense of independence and strength. However, she also had a secret side, one that craved the femininity and self-expression that makeup provided. Since makeup was strictly forbidden in the Amish community, Rosanna had to keep her love for it hidden. She secretly stashed away her collection, carefully concealing it from her family so she wouldn't be caught. This private rebellion hinted at her deep desire to explore life beyond the rigid boundaries of her faith. Her conflicting identities, one rooted in Amish tradition and another yearning for modern freedom, made her decision to leave all the more difficult. While she was drawn to the English world and the possibilities it offered, stepping away from the only life she had ever known was terrifying. The weight of that decision became overwhelming in the early stages of return to Amish, leading to one of the most emotionally intense moments of her journey. As Rosanna prepared to leave her Amish life behind, the reality of what she was doing suddenly hit her with full force. The fear of the unknown, the possibility of being shunned by her family, and the uncertainty of whether she would be able to make it in the English world all combined into an unbearable wave of anxiety. Overwhelmed by emotion, she suffered a panic attack, an experience that left her visibly shaken. Her body reacted to the immense stress, making it difficult for her to breathe and process her thoughts clearly. The situation was serious enough that those around her considered taking her to the hospital for urgent medical care. For someone who had never been exposed to modern health care or emergency medical treatment, the idea of being taken to a hospital must have been just as frightening as the panic attack itself. Thankfully, she was able to recover without needing hospitalization, but the moment served as a stark reminder of how deeply her decision to leave the Amish world affected her. Rosanna's panic attack was not just a random occurrence. It symbolized the immense emotional and psychological toll that leaving the Amish faith can take on someone. Unlike others who may leave strict communities out of rebellion or anger, Rosanna's decision was not made lightly. She genuinely struggled with whether she was making the right choice, knowing that either path, staying or leaving, would come with challenges. For viewers, this moment was a raw and heartbreaking display of vulnerability. It showed just how much Rosanna was sacrificing in her pursuit of a new life. While many people assume that leaving the Amish is as simple as walking away, the reality is far more complex. The fear of abandonment, the pressure of adapting to a completely foreign world, and the deep emotional ties to family all weigh heavily on those who choose to leave. The fourth shocking truth is her stubbornness. At just 18 years old, Rosanna Miller embarked on a life-changing journey as she stepped out of her Amish upbringing and into the modern world. Her experience on return to Amish was filled with excitement, fear, and personal growth as she navigated a series of firsts that were previously unimaginable in her sheltered life. Every new experience, no matter how small, was a revelation, as she embraced the freedom that came with stepping beyond the rigid restrictions of Amish culture. One of the most amusing and unexpected firsts for Rosanna was encountering robot toilets. Coming from a community that strictly avoided modern technology, even something as commonplace as an automatic flushing toilet was completely foreign to her. Unlike English households, which have plumbing, running water, and modern appliances, Amish homes typically rely on outhouses or very basic plumbing systems with no electricity. The idea that a toilet could operate on its own, flushing without manual intervention, was both shocking and fascinating to Rosanna. Her reaction was a mix of amusement and disbelief, making for a lighthearted and relatable moment on the show. Another major milestone for Rosanna was going to the beach for the first time. The Amish way of life is centered around hard work, modesty, and isolation from worldly pleasures, so leisure activities like beach outings are generally not part of their lifestyle. Stepping onto the sandy shore, feeling the ocean breeze, and wading into the waves was a brand new sensation for her. The sheer joy of experiencing something so simple, yet so foreign, was evident in her excitement. The beach represented more than just a fun outing. It symbolized her growing independence and the possibilities that lay ahead in her new life. But one of the most thrilling moments for Rosanna was fulfilling her dream of going parasailing. Growing up in an Amish household, she had never even considered such an adventurous activity. The Amish lifestyle is known for its simplicity and practicality, and something as extravagant as parasailing would have been seen as unnecessary and frivolous. However, now that she had broken free from those constraints, she finally had the chance to experience the rush of soaring high above the water. Though she was nervous at first, the moment she took off, she was filled with exhilaration. The experience was not just about the thrill, it was a representation of her newfound courage and willingness to embrace the unknown. Beyond the fun and adventure, Rosanna also used her freedom to make a bold and rebellious decision: getting a belly button piercing. In Amish culture, body modifications of any kind are strictly forbidden. Piercings are considered a form of vanity, which contradicts the Amish belief in modesty and humility. For Amish women, even wearing jewelry is discouraged, as it is seen as drawing unnecessary attention to one's appearance. Despite these strict rules, Rosanna decided to take a step that would have been unthinkable in her old life. Getting her belly button pierced was more than just an act of rebellion. It was a statement of independence. It was her way of asserting control over her own body and breaking free from the expectations that had been placed on her since birth. The decision was not just about fashion or aesthetics. It was about proving to herself that she had the right to make choices about her own life. It was a small but powerful symbol of her transformation. Next, one of the most nerve-wracking yet memorable experiences was her very first date. Growing up in the Amish community, dating was strictly monitored and followed a specific set of guidelines. Amish courtship typically takes place within the community and is heavily influenced by family and religious values. Young Amish men and women are expected to find partners within the faith, and they rarely spend time alone together before marriage. So, when Rosanna agreed to go on a date with a guy named Nick, it was a huge step outside of her comfort zone. Unlike in her Amish upbringing, where dates were usually supervised and revolved around church gatherings or community events, this was a one-on-one date with someone from the English world. She openly admitted that it was the first time she had ever been alone with a guy without the presence of friends or family, making the moment both exciting and intimidating. Nick, who was described as a gentleman, made an effort to make Rosanna feel comfortable. He even took the time to teach her how to play miniature golf, turning the date into a fun and lighthearted experience. For someone who had spent her entire life in a structured and rule-bound environment, the casual and playful nature of miniature golf was a welcome change. Rosanna was able to let loose, enjoy herself, and get a taste of what dating outside the Amish community was like. However, despite Nick's kindness and the novelty of the experience, the date didn't turn out to be as magical as Rosanna had hoped. While she appreciated his effort and patience, she later admitted that she didn't fancy him in a romantic way. It wasn't that Nick had done anything wrong. He was respectful and polite, but Rosanna simply didn't feel a spark. Her reaction to the date was a relatable moment for many viewers. First dates, especially for someone with no prior dating experience, can be nerve-wracking. The pressure to feel an instant connection or attraction can sometimes overshadow the experience itself. In Rosanna's case, she was still new to the concept of dating freely, without the constraints of Amish customs, and she was still figuring out what she wanted in a partner. Additionally, Rosanna's hesitation might have been influenced by her Amish background. Even though she had stepped into the English world, certain deep-rooted beliefs and feelings about relationships were still ingrained in her. Unlike many English young adults who grow up dating and learning from experience, Rosanna was only just beginning to explore the idea of romantic relationships on her own terms. The last truth you cannot ignore is the controversy about Rosanna's timeline that she never wanted to happen. When Return to Amish introduced Rosanna Miller in its season premiere, TLC portrayed her as someone who was stepping outside of her Amish community for the very first time. The network emphasized her unfamiliarity with the English world, stating that she had never even been inside an airport before. This setup reinforced the common return to Amish narrative, where young individuals leave behind their strict religious communities and experience the outside world for the first time, while cameras capture every moment of their transition. However, not long after the season aired, accusations surfaced, suggesting that the show's timeline wasn't entirely truthful. Fans quickly uncovered evidence that Rosanna had been using Facebook as early as January of the previous year, more than a year before the season premiered in March 2021. This revelation cast doubt on the show's portrayal of Rosanna's journey and led many to believe that she had actually left her Amish community long before the cameras started rolling. This inconsistency raised an important issue. How could Rosanna have been actively using social media while still living in her Amish community? The Amish strictly prohibit modern technology, including computers, smartphones, and the internet. For someone still fully integrated into the Amish lifestyle, having a Facebook account and engaging with the outside world online would be nearly impossible. The fact that she was already using social media suggested that she had been living in the English world much earlier than what the show depicted. This wasn't the first time Return to Amish had faced criticism for allegedly bending the truth to create more dramatic storylines. Over the years, viewers and former cast members have accused TLC of staging scenes, exaggerating timelines, and fabricating elements of the cast's journeys to make their transitions seem more shocking and entertaining. Rosanna's situation seemed to be another example of the show manipulating reality for the sake of storytelling. While there's no doubt that she came from an Amish background and struggled with adapting to the English world, the idea that she was experiencing everything for the first time on camera was likely an exaggeration. In reality, she had already been integrating into the outside world long before filming began. The discovery of Rosanna's social media activity also led to speculation about whether other aspects of her story had been altered or scripted. If TLC had misrepresented her timeline, what else had been adjusted for dramatic effect? Was her hesitation about leaving the Amish lifestyle as genuine as it seemed, or had she already made peace with her decision long before the cameras were rolling? Despite these inconsistencies, many fans still found Rosanna's story compelling. While the timeline may have been altered, her emotional struggles with leaving the Amish faith, navigating relationships, and experiencing new things were very real. She still had to face the consequences of her decision, including the fear of being shunned by her family and adapting to a world that was vastly different from the one she grew up in. What do you think about Rosanna Miller's little-known facts? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.